Woody Allen said that 90% of life is showing up. And I think that that is one of the things that the Labyrinth also teaches us, that we're walking step by step, we're showing up, we're there, we're present. And is that not what is called for life? To be present and to walk through our relationships, our experiences with our kids, our vocation, our creativity, whatever it may be, it's about putting one foot in front of the other. The Labyrinth is also a metaphor for the dreaming and for the creative process. Because remember when you start out dreaming or creating something, and sometimes you can see it, can't you? You can see the whole thing, and it seems like it should be so easy to get there. Piece of cake, no problem. You see the center, you see the goal, and then life takes you somewhere else. Not the place that you thought you would go. And you keep working at it until you find yourself in the center, because when we are dreaming, some of the qualities that we need to have in that manifested dream aren't manifested in us yet. And the only way we're going to get them to manifest is to actually walk through life, or in a sense of walking through the labyrinth. I think that the labyrinth also can reflect life patterns. It's a symbol of our spiritual growth. Carl Jung said that we can hardly help feeling that the unconscious moves spiral-wise around a center, gradually getting closer, while the characteristics of the center grow more and more distinct. So we're on this spiral, and we're getting closer, but the center is growing larger as we expand in consciousness. So I would like you for a moment to think about some of the twists and turns that your own life has taken, because I think it is part of the process of walking the labyrinth. Depending on your age, I'm going to ask you to either in your mind's eye, go back 10 years, or if you're really young, just go back 5. And just sit with that for a moment. I invite you to go back 5 or 10 years. And imagine what your life was like then. Who you were with, what you were doing, where you worked, where you lived, what you knew, how you felt. Just anchor that and just be with that for a moment. And now imagine that you're put into this body on this day, in July, on 2011. And so you've time traveled instantly to this moment. And be with that. And as you look at your life right now, what are some of the twists and turns that you took along the way? What are some of the changes that you experienced that you certainly didn't expect? And again, just sit with it for a moment. Perhaps there are people in your life that are no longer with you. And perhaps there's new people that you didn't know were going to be there that are with you now. And perhaps you're with your same partner or relationship, and it's deepened and changed over the years. Know that every step that you have taken over the last 10, over the last 5 years has been divinely guided. That the Spirit of God has been guiding you and continues to guide you right now. And then just let go of that image. So did your life take some twists and turns that you didn't expect it to over the last, say, 10 years? Anybody? Yeah? And yet, maybe some you wouldn't have chosen, and yet they've come out for the highest and best, haven't they? That lessons were learned that couldn't have been learned in another way, that parts of yourself were expressed and developed that weren't possibly expressed or developed without that twist and turn. So the labyrinth becomes a metaphor then for us to work with our lives. The labyrinth also has a threefold process, and the first is to surrender. So when you stand at the beginning of the labyrinth, the idea is to release and to let go, to be open, and you can walk the labyrinth for different and specific reasons. But again, it symbolizes our lives, because do we not have to surrender in life? I mean, we can think that we have control over things, but the truth is we don't. And we have to surrender to that higher power. And in a daily prayer life, we can stop and we can surrender. I love what Joe Dispenza said in What the Bleep, because he talked about how he prayed every morning and how he was affecting the quantum field with intention and what he wanted to experience during the day. And he said that he was speaking to this higher force and said, "Show me a sign today that you paid attention to any one of these things that I created, and bring them to me in a way that I didn't expect, so that I have no doubt but that it was you." Imagine starting your day in surrender in that way of saying, God, show up today in these experiences that I'm having, in this intention that I am setting forth, and show up in a way that I have no doubt but that it is you. That it shows up in such an interesting and miraculous way. I was watching, Oprah now has master classes on video in her cable station or whatever she's doing. And she shared the story of her dream, which was to be in the movie The Color Purple. She said when she found the book, she was obsessed with it. And she couldn't stop, not only could she not stop reading it, but she would buy it and pass it out literally to people standing on the street. This is before she had her book club. And she became so connected with the characters and felt like it was her story that she knew she had to be in a movie if it was ever made into a movie. And so she was praying and putting her intentions, and finally she got a call from a casting agent who said, "We want you to come and try out for a part in," they called it Moonsong then. And she's like, "Well, I don't want to be in a movie called Moonsong. I want to be in The Color Purple." And they said, "No, it's Moonsong." So she read the script when she got there, and she realized that it was The Color Purple, that is what she had wanted to do. And so she read the part, and the part that she read, I think her name was Sophia, who was married to Harpo, and Harpo was Oprah backwards. So she's like, this is a divine appointment. I'm supposed to do this for sure. So she went back, and after she did her reading, and then she never heard a word. Months go by, nothing. She hears nothing, and she's like, "Okay, God, I know you want me to do this. I know I put my prayers out. I put my intention. None of this would have happened if you didn't want me to do this." And she called the casting agent, and she said, "I just want to know what's going on." And he says, "Hey, let me tell you something. You don't call us, we call you. And let me tell you something, there's real actresses trying out for this part. You're not a real actress." So she was devastated. She said she was devastated, and she thought, I know, the reason that they don't want me in this movie is because I'm too fat. So she went off to Wisconsin to a fat farm, and she's running around the track. And she said, "You know, God, why would you put this desire in my heart? Why would you give me this desire and make me believe that this was going to happen for me, and then you just take it away from me?" And so she said, "But I want to surrender. I want to give it over, and I want to surrender." And she said that she ran around the track and walked around the track, and she sang a song of surrender. And finally she's crying, and she's like, "Okay, I can let go of it. I can let go of it, but I'm never going to go see that movie, ever." And then she thought, okay, so I haven't fully surrendered, so I need to be able to go see the movie. And then she surrendered enough to do that, and she said, "But I will not wish that actress well." And she thought, nope, I have to do that as well. And she said she kept on going and singing and doing her thing until she thought, not only can I go see the movie, but I can bless this woman who is playing the part that I want. And she said she stood there outside in Wisconsin, and then somebody said, "Hey, you have a phone call." And she went in to get the call, and it was Steven Spielberg, and he said, "Well, we want you to be in the movie, and I'm telling you, if you lose 1 pound, you could jeopardize the role." So she said that she went and to Dairy Queen on her way home. Her point was that in surrendering, we do all we can for our dream. We work, we create, we walk the labyrinth, we take the twists and turns, we show up. But there's a point where we do all that we can, and then we have to release it. We release it, we let it go to spirit. And she said, the interesting thing was that God had a bigger dream for her than she had for herself. Because really, it was in being in that movie that caused her show to go national. And then her show has done so much good and has blessed so many people. And it wouldn't have happened if she hadn't been in the movie. But she had to surrender totally. She totally believes that she had to surrender before anything could move or happen. So when we get to the center of the labyrinth, that's where the healing takes place. That's where the full surrender takes place. That's where the guidance takes place. And as much and as nice as it would be to just stay there and sit there, guess what? You got to get out of the labyrinth. And the image of that and walking back out is taking your gifts, taking your knowledge back out into the world with you. Not through preaching, but through living your life, by being an example and expressing that. And again, it's kind of what Oprah did when she surrendered and released and she gave herself over to the movie, but really what she needed to give back to the world was something bigger than what she thought. So we have lots of things that we are dealing with, the economy and the climate and all of this stuff that's happening. And perhaps what we need to do collectively is to focus on the center and to see what the solution is, to see what the dream is, to see what it is we would like manifested, knowing that we're probably going to be taking some left turns and seem like we're far away, but hopefully one day, boom, there it appears and it shows up directly in front of us. When you walk the labyrinth, you walk at your own pace. It helps you to get in touch with your own breath and to feel what that is for you. It also shows you perhaps how you show up in life. One woman said that when she was walking the labyrinth, if other people were on it, she would always get off and make room for everybody else, which is fine, but what she noticed was she does that in her life as well. That when she's on her own path and working her own thing, if someone comes up, she immediately gets off her path to make room or to help them. And it was an awakening and a realization. Melissa West is one of the members of our community, and she wrote a book about the labyrinth, which we do have in the bookstore. And she has a whole list of different ways that we can use the labyrinth for, and different meditations and different prayers. And so as I wrap up, I just want to share with you one of them as an experience. So one that she shares is if it's your birthday, or it's the end of the year, or you're focusing on a dream. But let's look at birthday, for instance. She said you can stand in front of the labyrinth and you can light a candle, which symbolizes the last year, but the new year coming in. And as you start to walk the labyrinth, remember the past year, the twists and the turns, the joys and the sorrows, the changes, and simply walk through it. And when you get to the center, offer the light to spirit and say, okay, I'm ready to receive the gift of the next year of my life. I'm ready to receive that birthday gift from you. And as you have the candle, then you walk back out. And as you walk out, start envisioning your intentions for the following year. She said when you get out of the labyrinth, to blow out your candle, to thank it, or thank the experience, and then taking the candle home with you, so that when you find yourself stuck at some point, you can take it out and light it, and it can remind you of your intention. So there's many different ways to walk a labyrinth. You can walk it through in celebrating a birth. You can walk it through and light a candle in the center, welcoming the new life. You can walk in memory of someone. You can walk as a prayer to the earth. You can walk as a prayer to someone that you know is in need of healing. So again, we have the labyrinth across the street at Denny Park. We would like it to be a permanent thing. So I invite you to support the dream of Seattle Unity and Jackie Roberts, to lift the consciousness of South Lake Union.